Hey guys, what's going on? Tommy from mixstudios.com. Let's talk about making these wedding vows sound good. I know a lot of my filmmaker friends always have questions on, hey, how do I make those wedding vows stand out and not get covered by the music or whatever's going on in the audio? So let's see what we got here. I'm going to run you through a couple things that I do to make vocals and music stand out. Same thing applies here with dialogue. So if you want to follow along, you can download Tokyo Dawn Labs, their EQ and their compressor, which are these two here, and I'll leave links in the description. If you need help installing them, you can ask in the comments, but it's pretty straightforward. Once you open up the files, you'll be able to drag the plugin over to the folder that they need to be in. Otherwise, if you have your own EQ and compressor, same thing applies. First thing I want to do is I want to listen and see what we got.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what.
All right, so right away we can see the music gets too loud, covers up the vocals. First thing we want to do is turn down the music. Let's see what we got.
And cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our...
Okay, we can hear the dialogue now because we lowered the music, but the music doesn't really make the same impact it does when it's louder. And I still want there to be an impact. I want people to feel emotion with this music and with this dialogue, which means this needs to come up, but when I bring it up, it covers the dialogue. So let's take some steps to correct this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mute this music track because I don't need it for now. I'm going to hit V. I'm going to click it and hit V. It's going to mute it. And I'm going to come here to this music track and I'm going to put an EQ on it. And the EQ I'm going to use, and if you downloaded it, you'll be using the same one, is the TDR Nova. Let's just drag it from the list here. And if you don't know how to get to this list, you do it here. This little double window icon. Bring it over, drop it on. Now from here, the plugin is on the track. It's not doing anything. So what we need to do is we need to make sure you're clicked on the track, go to the audio section of it, go to the effects section and click this little icon here. It's going to open that plugin up in Final Cut. Okay. Second thing I'm going to do is, because I'm used to editing lots of music in the music world, I like things to keep looping. Okay, because I don't want to keep hitting spacebar, moving the mouse, hitting spacebar, so on and so on. So in order to loop this whole section, I'm going to click the file. I'm going to press Command L. That puts it in loop mode, and then I'm going to hit /.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us.
So what I want to do here is I want to cut all the very low end out of this dialogue. Anything that is like really rumbly in the background, you know, let's pretend there's a construction site in the background and there's generators or whatever the case. All that low rumble will come through a mic very easily. And the one way to get rid of that is to use a high pass filter. So in this plugin, the high pass filter is right here. You click it to activate it. And what that means is it's allowing all the high frequencies to pass through while cutting the low frequencies. So anything before this line gets cut out and anything after this line remains in. So I'm cutting out the low frequencies here. So we see 10 hertz, 20 hertz, 50 hertz, 100 hertz. And dialogue usually doesn't need any low frequencies below, I'd say 70. Okay, so I'm probably going to rest it here. Let me move this one out of the way just in case I need to grab it later. I'd probably rest it here and I'd take a listen, and we'll take a listen and I'll move this back and forth so you can see what happens.
I vow to work hard for our family and for our future, and I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what.
So you can see at about 130 hertz, it starts to sound pretty good. Going above 130 hertz makes it sound thin. And I think 130, which right here, is a pretty good frequency to begin cutting at. The slope. Now, I didn't use the slope, but basically what the slope is it eases the curve, right? So if I wanted some of that 50 hertz in there, I can open up this curve, and there's still a little bit in there, but it's about -9 dB. So you're probably not going to hear it, but if you're having trouble finding a sweet spot like I just did, you can open up the slope and make the curve less dramatic and get back some of that low end. And if I open the curve way up, I can probably move this a little more and still sound okay. But I'm going to keep it where it was, and I'm going to keep it at that 130. So the next thing I want to do is I want to enhance his voice, which around the 2000 range is where I usually do that at. So let's go ahead and loop it and play with some frequencies.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss.
So what I did here was I brought down this area right here, which is about 460 to 500. And the reason I did that is because it brings what we call in music boxiness. It brings it down. So as you heard, as I was bringing that down, it reduced that boxy quote unquote sound that was coming out of his voice. And over here in the 4K range, it kind of brings out the nasally part of the voice, and that allows the voice to cut through. We call it cutting through because it would cut through something like music or anything that's happening within the audio. We want that voice to cut through because we want it to be heard. Secondly, I raised the high frequencies, and I did this around 7,000. And what this right here is a shelf. So the reason it's called shelf is because if you notice, this curve goes up and comes down, and that's called the bell curve. And this curve goes either way you put it, down or up, but it keeps going, which means it's a shelf. All right, so I brought this up. I brought this shelf up because I wanted to boost the high frequencies, which brings out the crispiness, and we call it air. So let's take a listen to the before and after. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to hit / to loop it. And I'm going to click this little check box here, and you're going to hear what it sounds like with it and without it.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you.
So as you hear, it gets crispier and it gets easier to hear. And I don't think I explained what I did here at 200. So I brought 200 up because I wanted there to be more fullness in the voice. I don't want the voice to sound tinny and weak. I wanted it to sound beefy, okay? And we usually get those frequencies around 100 to 300 sometimes, depending on the person's voice. Everybody's voice varies, so it really depends on what they sound like, and you have to play through those frequency ranges to find where the beefiness and the fullness is. So I wanted the voice to sound fuller, and I did that by increasing the gain in the 200 hertz area, because when you increase the gain on the higher end and you leave the low end out of the equation, you're giving the vocal more clarity, but it's also becoming thinner. So I wanted to make it beefier, and I wanted to make the low end higher, but I did not want the boxiness. So I still pulled this down to reduce that boxiness. So now it's got low end, it's got some vocal high end, and it's got some air high end. So now that I've removed the low frequencies, I've made it sound full, I've removed the boxiness, and I gave it some high end, it sounds better. But is it going to do the job to cut through the music? Let's see.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws.
Okay, so we still need to bring this down a bit, and I still don't want to lose that impact that the music makes. So let's move to compression. And what compression is going to do, let me make these bigger so you can see. Now, as you can see here, this is him talking. It goes up, it comes down, goes way up, and then comes down again, all the way down, comes up mid-range, down. This is very low. So how do we fix the variations in his voice, in his talking? We do that with compression. So let's throw a compressor on this. And if you downloaded these, you can follow along. So now let's go back to effects. TDR Nova is the EQ. This one is the compressor. And let's play it.
No matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband.
Let's mute the music again. We don't really need it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the threshold. And what the threshold is going to do is it's going to activate the compressor. So once one of these peaks hit the threshold that I've set, the compressor is going to be activated. And I don't necessarily know where the line is for when the audio starts to hit the compressor. So I'm going to play with the knob until I see the gain reduction happening, which means anything you see here is reducing the gain. So if you see this come down to 1 or 2, that means it's -1, -2 dB reduction.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass.
So you see how when he talks, the loud points are getting smushed, and as the compressor is releasing the level, the low parts of his voice are louder. They're maybe not louder, but they're equal. They're equal to the loud parts, because when he speaks loud, the compressor smushes it. And when he's speaking low, the compressor is not really engaging. So it's letting those low parts pass through after they've already compressed the high parts. So it's balancing the highs and the lows and bringing them to a middle point. Now, we want the compressor to do more than just that. We want it to make the low parts louder and the high parts lower. And usually when you're compressing and you're seeing that gain smush those high parts, you want to bring those high parts back up to where they used to be, but at the same time, bringing up the low parts also. And that is where we use makeup gain. So this makeup knob is going to increase the volume of everything overall. So it's going to bring the low parts and the high parts up all together at once. So let's see what that does.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future, and I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss.
So now you can see that everything he says is getting compressed a little bit. That means the compressor is always being engaged, and when his parts are very low, it's being compressed just a little tiny bit, and when his voice is high, it's getting compressed a lot. But now the lows and the highs are equal. So now we don't have to worry about one part of his vows being heard and another part of his vows not being heard. Everything is equal and everything is sounding good. There are a lot of other options on this compressor, like attack, and attack tells the compressor how fast to engage. So if you feel like the voice is getting smushed too fast, you can back off of the attack, and I'll play with these knobs a little bit so you can hear what they do.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future, and I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us.
So the attack and the release is an important part of a compressor, especially in music. For this dialogue, it's not going to make that big of a difference, but you don't want it to be too fast and you don't want it to be open too long. Just about the middle will probably be good for what you're doing, but use your ears and listen to hear what the attack knobs are doing and the release knob is doing to the dialogue. Eventually, when you use compressors for a while, you'll start to hear the sound of compression and know what it sounds like. This here, it sounds natural, and that's what I like. I like a natural sounding voice because he's in a natural setting. And the release is going to tell the compressor how long to hold on to that compression. So if you set it very high, it's going to hold on for 1 second. So this level that's being reduced here is going to take longer to come back up and let those low parts come through. It's going to remain reducing lots of dB by the time he's saying the low parts. So because we want it to be equal, we don't want that. We want it to release faster, and we don't want it to release too fast because then the low parts are going to get really loud. So about midway here, we'll do this just fine. So let's take a listen to what we have with the music now.
I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you, no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future, and I vow to always end every day with I love you.
We're getting closer. We can hear what he's saying, even though the music is still overpowering what he's saying. Now, what I want to do is I want this music to have the same impact, but not take over the show. The music it's not the main attraction here. What he's saying is the main attraction. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use an EQ on this music track. So with my TDR Nova, I'm going to grab it, drag it on, go to the music section, go to effects, click this little icon, and I'm going to reduce the areas in the music that I brought up in his vocal or in his dialogue. That way we don't have competing frequencies. So I'm going to mute his voice for now, and I'm going to play with this for a little bit, and you'll be able to hear what's happening. So what I want to do is I want to reduce the area where his voice is. And like I said before, from 2000 to 5000 is where his voice is going to be. So I don't want these frequencies in the music overpowering that. So let's bring that area down. So you see when I disable the plugin and when I removed these frequencies where his voice is, you can hear the strings really come down in volume. Even though the music still has the impact that it has, the instruments that are in his voice range are quieter. And this is what we want because we want his voice to, again, cut through this music so we can hear it. I'm going to put his voice in so we can hear what it's doing.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future.
Okay, we can hear his voice much clearer now. My only concern is that the music is still a little too loud, so let's play with the output gain. This output gain is going to reduce the volume of the music. I could do it here, but I'll stick to the plugin and I'll do it here because when I bypass it, you'll hear the difference.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss. Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every...
So that's sounding pretty good. What I'm noticing here is that the music starts out pretty low and then it gets pretty loud. It kind of sounds a little uneven. So how we fix that is we use what we call automation. Now, how to use automation, and I'm very glad that Final Cut has automation, is we hold Option and we click on the volume line to add a point. Now it's going to add a point there, and I'm going to add another point here. I'm going to add a point here, and I'm going to add a point here. Now what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to take what's in between these points and turn it up. Okay, so I'm going to move this point out because the music gets louder out here and it's lower here. And I want it to be louder back here and lower at the end. Now I have this like kind of volume curve happening to where it starts out louder, at least the volume line starts out louder and then comes down. Let's see how that sounds.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always...
Okay, so 2 dB might be a little much. So let's grab this point and I'm going to bring it down to 1 dB. I'm going to bring this down.
forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss.
All right, that's sounding pretty good. Now, the last thing that I hear in these vows is his sniffles. They're very loud. Let's listen.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you.
So I don't want the sniffles to be the main attraction of these vows either. So I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to use automation to tame these vows. So let's make a point here, make a point here, here, and here, because I know that this is the sniffle. And I'm going to bring that sniffle down. Let's hear that.
Now,
much better. And I know there's a sniffle here. Very loud. Point, 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 point. Bring it down. Let's hear it.
I vow to always love you.
Now we're getting somewhere.
I vow to...
Okay.
Now, as it is written, I now leave my mother and father and cleave to you. I vow to always love you no matter what life throws at us. I vow to respect you as a loving husband from this day forward until we pass. I vow to work hard for our family and for our future. And I vow to always end every day with I love you and a kiss.
All right, that about wraps that up. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you later.